I'm Elsie Souza, and I work obviously at Bookstore One, and I plan some of the events here. And usually you're used to seeing Bryn Durgan, but she's actually traveling in the Northeast as we speak. And our videographer is Georgia Court, and she's the owner of the bookstore and the brains behind everything. So we're delighted you're here this morning. And I'll introduce Jason Cannon, who really doesn't need any introduction in Sarasota, because I think you are a major part of our community for how many years?
10, just over 10 now.
Okay, great. So your history goes back to Florida Studio Theater, and he's a best-selling author, as well as an award-winning actor, director, playwright, and teacher. And you created Ibis Books, which is like, so now he's a publisher and everything. I love it. So we're delighted you're here this morning. There you go.
Thank you very much, Elsie. Well, that was very generous. Yeah, so welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with my very dear friend, Estrella Engelhardt. One just quick note, before you leave today, I set up some Ibis book stuff right over there on that table. There's my cards, some bookmarks, some Dove chocolate, because I like birds, obviously, and some of the other books that are available at Ibis. Most of them also, if you want, you could order them through Bookstore One. Bookstore One, thank you. You've been so kind to me, so generous. This is like my 5th event here or something. I can't even remember. Something like that. But today is all about Estrella Engelhardt. Ibis, we published her memoir, Letters to Jim, memoir of a 40-year love story, just back in February. I met Estrella how many years ago? Goodness, at Florida Studio Theater. Estrella has taken many of my classes at FST, from acting to spoken memoir to playwriting. And this book came about, and she'll talk more about this. When her husband Jim passed away last June, she reached out to me just a couple months later saying, I need to tell our love story. And I was like, great. And she sent me some stuff she had written, and we worked together for a bit to try to find the right pathway for her to tell her story. And it came to me one day to suggest, hey, why don't you just write Jim letters? Estrella was kind of struggling to put together how does she want to tell the story, but as soon as I said just write him letters every day, I couldn't keep up. The words came flying into my email inbox every day, and that material is what we then used to build this book, Letters to Jim. So today, I'm going to ask Estrella a little bit about that. She's going to read an excerpt, and then we can just have a conversation. Any questions you have for Estrella, about the process, about what she went through, about what she learned, about grieving, anything you've been through. We'll just have a really nice conversation. But first, Estrella, if you'd grab your mic, I just want to ask. But they do. They love mics out there.
You see, I've got this.
It should be on.
There's a little switch on there.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go. There we go.
don't like mics.
Perfect.
I have a little essential tremor, so if you find it going like this, it's my tremor. I'm not nervous, just a little bit.
Estrella, say, before you read your excerpt, just talk just a little bit about what was it about writing letters that opened you up?
It was staying in communication. See, there I go already. Staying.
We're putting this on YouTube, Estrella. You can't use that. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
The more the merrier, right?
I wanted to stay in connection with Jim, and I have. It was really good therapy. It's been almost a year. And I still do this, every single day for 4 or 5 times a day. But I continue to live my life because I know that that's what my friends and what Jim would want me to do. And so I began to write, and it was really easy. That's why you got so many emails with letters at least once a day, sometimes 2, sometimes even 3. And then I maybe skip a day or so. but it's my way of staying in touch with Jim. He was a great, great man. See, he was a really handsome man, kind. Everything about this man, a naval officer for 27 years, he was as humble could be. And he would always say, Estrella, you need a little more humility. But being the actor, actress that I am, it doesn't come easy. And so I continue writing to Jim every single day. Recently, I have started another book. I've got about 15 letters done. And I am going to have Jason edit and publish it. What
Great.
else?
Great, thank you. I think let's go ahead and go to your excerpt. Yeah.
Read my stories?
What?
Read my stories?
Yeah, go ahead and read the excerpt of letters from the book itself. This is when we launched the book back in February. These are some excerpts from the actual book itself, which is for sale down at the front desk. But yeah, an excerpt, and then we'll talk a bit more about what you've been going through.
Okay. Now, remember, this is way back in February that I started this, so things have changed a little bit. Dear Jim, this morning for the first time in 40 years, I woke up and you didn't. How could you leave me? Now, I have all this space, all this time that I don't know what to do with. Fortunately, I found things to do. Who will I talk to when something happened? You were always the first person I told. Without you to tell, do those things even happen? Life now feels like tissue, thin and easily torn. There's a bird singing outside the window. I'm writing you because when I talk to the empty house, I feel crazy. But somehow writing makes it feel like I'm actually talking to you. This morning when I woke, I pulled out the letter you wrote me all those years ago, the one I always keep in my wallet. I read it and cried, but I could hear your voice. So maybe even up there in heaven, where you can see me, as I write you a letter, you can hear me too. And he always used to say, your dearest darling, so most of these letters I end up saying, hi, thank you for coming. Your dearest darling, Estrella. I did this so I wouldn't have to shake, and I still have to shake. Be nice. Say nice things, Estrella. Okay. Dear Jim, today I was thinking about the crazy thing we did before we got married. I laugh every time I think about it, and laughter is what I need. You picked me up at the train station, and we went to this very nice hotel in Panama. When we got there, we were both so nervous that you, instead of going to check in, you went to the concierge. Finally, we went up to the room and started unpacking. But then they called. They wanted our passports. What? Passports? We didn't need passports. We were residents of the Panama Canal. But we had to get out of there because we couldn't risk being discovered. You know, conduct unbecoming an officer. We grabbed our gear and ran all the way down the back stairs into our car and laughed all the way home, nervous as hell. That's why people usually go to push buttons in Latin America. They look like little garages with a bedroom attached to it. And there's a slot where you put your money into it, and it's very discreet. No one sees you, and you don't have to see anybody. And you have a wonderful hour or two for just a couple, maybe $10. I don't know, it's been 40 years since I was there. Maybe it's 20 today. Also, if you want to order a drink or snack, there's a menu and a sliding window. And again, no one can see you. Pretty neat, right? Why didn't we do just that? Because we did. And this wasn't our first time. Oh, to be young and stupid and running around Panama with you again, looking for a place to get frisky. Your dearest darling, Estrella. My darling Jim, today was a screwy day. I had dinner at breakfast, enchiladas verdes, and breakfast at dinner, waffles, and some papaya and pistachio nuts as a snack in between. I washed the dishes and said, the hell with it. I'm gonna watch Stessel, this Hasidic series on Netflix that has got me addicted. And by the way, I've been addicted to about 3 other novelas, which I swore when I was a kid. And watching the housekeepers watch their novelas, I said, I'm never gonna waste my time like that. It's going on 3, but they're all in Spanish, and I love it because I get to express myself and relearn the Spanish that I was born into. Okay. Oh yes, this one's in Yiddish with English subtitles. Normally I don't watch, as I said, with subtitles, but this one got me. I must have watched for 3 hours, but now I'm happy to be with you again. At one point today, I started to feel guilty about having a good day like this. Fun, delicious, normal. How can I do that to you? But then I got a phone call from your youngest son, Jeffrey, and he said, don't feel guilty about this. You deserve a day that is simple. My 2 children, Mark and Naomi, keep checking in on me. How are they? 52 and 60? Time is unforgiving. You and I never had children, but I feel blessed to have yours with me the way they do. And he had 4 biological and 1 adopted Korean daughter. What? Con papas. You know, that's what they say in Panama. When instead of saying sh, they say chuleta con papas, which means pork chops with potatoes. I don't know how they got that. Dearest Jim, I cry every day for you. I'm crying now and I am in so much pain. When I look through these letters on the computer, my heart cries out to you. So many years, so many stories. I feel empty without you. Even something as mundane as the list of medications takes me back to other times when I had to make sure you were taking the right ones, since you could no longer read the tiny print on the bottles. I would give you what you needed, and you seemed to be okay with that. After all, you took care of me for over 40 years, and it was my honor and privilege to take care of you. I'm sorry. They're too emotional for me. Oh, yeah, the next one. I remember before we were married, living in Panama, I had this miserable hemorrhoid operation, and you wanted to take care of me. So I stayed with you in your lovely little apartment overlooking the Panama Canal. We sat and watched the ships go through. It was $1 million sight. But then I had to relieve myself in your bathtub. You know, when you have a hemorrhoid operation, it's painful and you can't sit on the toilet and you gotta do it the way I did. That was gross. And there you were cleaning up after me. I suppose that's one of the definitions of true love. Happily cleaning up the other's most potent and bodily fluids. That's it. One more? Sweet Jim, I went to Nellie's this morning. I wasn't sure if I would be able to go there again, since it was your favorite place for breakfast, and we were there together so many times, and every inch of that place reminds me of you. But somehow I managed to go. As I was parking, I saw our friend Charlie leaving. I waved at him, but he didn't see me. I ordered my scrambled eggs and English muffin with coffee and saw that none of our friends were there. So I asked this lady if I could sit with her, and she was so nice and said yes. She introduced herself and said I used to be her massage therapist. Talk about kismet. Her name is Liz, and she was so complimentary about my work. And she said I helped her a lot. She was so happy that I asked to sit with her. She's going through a hard time with her husband in the hospital, and we just sat there and supported each other. She took my phone number and will contact me as a friend, not for a massage because I'm now retired. It was through your support and love, Jim, that I even became a massage therapist at age 55. I so wish I would have given you more massages, but you knew how tired I would get and you never made me feel guilty for not working more on you. But I did cut your hair every 4 weeks, because I also went to the Vidal Sassoon Academy. There's nothing I would rather do tonight than cut your hair and sweep it all up off the floor. And then I would give you such a massage. Your dearest darling Estrella. And there's a lot more like that. But before I say anything else, I want to honor Colleen. Yes, who lost her husband about 2 months before I lost mine. And I want to honor all of you for being here. Thank you so much.
These are very live mics. So I just want to kind of open it up. I have things I can ask Estrella, of course, but if there's anything you want to comment on or ask about the book or her and Jim, please feel free. Happy to facilitate a conversation. You were just scratching your nose. That's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah, please.
You mentioned that your husband and your family wanted you to move on in your earlier when you were introduced. I'm wondering if you've given yourself permission to move on.
It's a great question. So I'll restate it just so everyone can hear. Estrella in her introduction talked about knowing that her friends and family and even Jim would want her to keep living, to move on. And the question was, have you given yourself the permission to do so?
I have. And that doesn't mean you don't grieve.
That's right. Yes, I understand that.
I know you do. I can sense that you've already had something like this. Yeah. Thank you.
Talk a little bit about what does it mean to give yourself permission? I mean, and again, I experienced this through you and through all of your emails, but in your day-to-day, what do you do to remind yourself to go out there and to go out there and live?
Fortunately, I have dear friends that I share with, and they're very encouraging. And I'm a fighter, and I'm not gonna let anything stop me as much as I grieve. It would be a dishonor to my Jim if I just let myself down. But I'm not doing that, thank God for my friends. I don't have my family here, so all my friends are my family. You too, Jason.
Great.
Anything else?
That's great. That's beautiful. Yeah. Other questions or thoughts, comments, things to share? Yeah.
No, I'm gonna raise my hand.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to say, I've been a widow for 15 years. My husband died at 50, and we were only married for 10 years. And it's something that just now I'm accommodating in my heart, a place for him, and it's settled, feels settled, or somewhat. But I miss him terribly. He was my soulmate, but that fighting spirit you have, yeah, some people have that, and it keeps you going, it does. And I think, I think that's probably why you've had such a great relationship, because of the person who you are.
Did everyone hear that okay?
Yes.
The gist? Great. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Other thoughts or comments, questions? If not, I'm going to prime the pump a little bit here. Tell us how you and Jim met. I love this story.
Well, I went down to the Panama Canal, 1972, with my first husband. He was a teacher, and so he got a job teaching down there. And because he was a professional, we were allowed to go to the officers' club. So I met Jim there. In fact, I met him 10 years before I married him. He was always a gentleman. Because he was president of the officers' club, and that wasn't his regular job. He was Inspector General of South America, and what that means is he went down to inspect the leased ships to South America to make sure that they were okay. And I'm going to divert a little bit here. One of those ships that he inspected was the Belgrano, the one that was sunk during the Falkland War. He went down there and he told those people down there that actually the admiral, do this and this to the ship, otherwise it's going to burn and it's going to sink. Well, he had this story about, and I don't want to mention cultures, but this certain culture would rather party than take care of the ship. Well, unfortunately, I think there were over 350 sailors that drowned because of that Falkland War. And it did, it burnt and it went down. Anyway, that was one of his jobs. Then Jim left and went to Korea for 2 years, returned, and worked the logistics of the Panama Canal. So he was in charge of everything that had to do with warships. He was on a destroyer for many, many years. Anyway, going back to the officers' club, he would always pull the chair out and be a gentleman, and I would sit down in front of my husband at the time. And he did this for a long time. And I was already on the verge of a divorce of 21-year marriage, and I was never really happy in. But I was happy because we did a lot of traveling because he was a school teacher. Anyway, the time came when I finally said to Jim, all right, buddy, what's next? When are we going to get together? And that's that story about the hotel. Yeah, we created a great big Peyton place because I was acting, and I also, because of my background, I'm a Sephardic Jew, I do Middle Eastern dancing. And so I was the belly dancer, I was the actress, and here's the officer, and he was married to a naval officer also, so guess what? Big stories went around. So what? The end result is what mattered, and I was married to Jim for 40 years, and he supported me in every endeavor, whether it be spiritual or whether it be artistic. I love Josh Groban's song, "You Raise Me Up." Boy, did he raise me up. At 40, I was still dependent, a scared little girl, and he just did everything to raise me up. So, that's it.
Great, thank you, Estrella. Other thoughts or comments, things you want to share? Questions about Estrella writing her book? That's all fine too. I will share one thing that I really enjoyed, because this letter idea, I just kind of lobbed it to her, not sure what would happen. Some of my favorite parts of the book that would come back to me were just her details about, I had waffles for dinner. It's so fascinating how when a big loss or a big change in your life shifts your perspective, how the smallest details become so meaningful. Right? When you wrote that all I want to do is cut his hair. It's all day long I've been thinking about just cutting his hair. Right? And it's kind of like that play Our Town, right? That we can't really know what's important until we're past it. And the reminder for me, reading these letters over and over, it just kept reminding me, hey, Jason, take that extra 2 minutes with your dog, right? Let Gaia lick your face a little longer. You'll be glad you did. Hey, don't rush that dinner with your girlfriend. Right? Just be present. So even though I was editor, publisher, but the impact on me working on these letters was just be more present. The little details are everything.
Tell us about your mother and reading the book.
This was, again, you go into a project hopeful that it will have a mission or make an impact beyond just, I want to write a book to write a book. My mother, for the last many years, her mother just passed away last year, my grandma. And my grandma had lost her husband of 60 years. I remember performing a skit at their 50th wedding anniversary with my brother. Grandpa passed away, and his last words to my mom were, "Take care of mother." And so my mom did. And she spent about 8 years on call as an unpaid nurse, basically. And so many people go through that. As my grandma, her memory, her physical health wasn't failing, but her memory was failing. She went for a checkup. The doctor said, "You've got another 10 years." And she's like, "Oh no." She just wanted to go be with Daddy, with Grandpa. And the stress that puts on the caregiver is unbelievable. You lose the ability to have your own life. My mom couldn't come see my shows. She knew she would have such guilt if she was away and Grandma passed away. She wouldn't be able to live with herself if she wasn't there. So I sent this book to my mom, and her feedback was, "I wish I could have given this to Grandma, because as many people think, Grandma grieved alone. She wouldn't share it. She thought I had to keep a stiff upper lip. I don't want to be a burden." And my mother just said, "I wish Grandma could have read this, because maybe she would have felt like she could have shared her grief with everyone who loved her and wanted to help her get through it." Because everyone was grieving along with her, but she just didn't want to put that down. So that also was kind of proof of concept. It made me so happy for Estrella that this book is not just, it's a testament to Jim, but also hopefully it is, if not a manual, at least a piece of inspiration to other people going through something similar.
Yeah. And I lost what I was going to say. No, but I do want to say thank you to Rosemary, who was with me for a month during Jim's illness and when he passed away. And you couldn't have a better friend to do that for you. So thank you.
Yeah, right there, please.
I go to grief counseling at hospice, Tidewell, or whatever they call themselves there. Anyway, I have a strange book. I bought it the last time I did this. I'm going to buy another book today, and I'm going to give it to my grief counselor. I think she could, it's a great insight, and I think she could share some of that with people that go to her grief counselor. It's a fantastic book.
Thank you.
She's a great friend.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, let me grab a card too. I mean, whatever we can do that's a great idea. I mean, as much as we can provide comfort. So yeah, thank you very much. That's a great idea. Did I see a hand? Yeah.
It's me. Well, I was just gonna say, in my church, there's a lot of widows, and we all kind of lament that there's really no support coming from church for that. It's almost like, well, it says in the Bible, be good to widows, but it's okay, it's back to sanity. And so I talked to a friend, and I'm thinking of getting I'm going to one of this. We have this new minister, and his wife is big in Christian education, he's written books, and he does kind of Bible studies. And I was going to ask her if there is a faith-based kind of program, because they do make these programs, like with Bible studies, people, they have videos, they have books, and anyway, my point is that it's so important to talk about it and be open and have a space to do that. And that's, and the book does that.
Yeah, Estrella, talk a little bit, because I know I think you and Kelly, there's like a Facebook group. What other resources have you taken advantage of, Estrella? Or if anyone else has resources like this too? Yeah, of course, yeah.
Please, here, over here. You're an activist. You're an
I
activist.
can talk really loud.
Forget.
When I lost my husband, I knew immediately. He was 67. That's still pretty young. I was 63. And I knew right away I needed to get in touch with other widows. And I'm on Facebook, and I look for a widows group, and I have to laugh because I joined this one widows group, and then I read a post, a woman saying, well, it's been so many months, and now I'm in my wid-ho phase.
Did I understand that right?
Yeah.
I think you did. Yeah, if you're asking if you understood it right, then you understood it right. Yes.
And I was like, all right, unjoin. And then, another one was very down. And then I found one, it was called Widowed and Rising. And I said, that's for me. I don't want to wallow. I want to feel like I'm rising. And I think you joined that one, right? I think you did.
I
right?
didn't join it
The
like
group?
paying the money for it, but
No, but you're in the
I'm
Facebook
in
group.
relationship with
Yeah.
yes.
And it's been really helpful, but this is Mary Kay, and over there we have Terry, and we were supposed to have a couple more. I also started a Facebook group, Jersey Girls of SRQ. And when my husband passed, and there's 760 of us in the Facebook group, and we do a lot of fun things, but
But they're not all here.
yeah, but that was, but when he was, when my husband was alive, I started that, and then I said, I'm gonna start a widows group within that, so now I have Jersey Girls of SRQ, widows, supporting widows. And I kept it to, Mary Kay is a grief, what is it? A grief counselor at the church, and we sort of combined social things, but I said, we need to be together. I'm not single. I don't want to be with divorced people. I'm sorry. I want to be with people who understand. I don't feel single. I feel I'm Estrella reached out to me. I was away. I had just had my first grandchild when Jim died. I was away dealing with mine, but it does help. But when you started writing your book, I was like, you know, leave it to Estrella to just like face this head on. She was so sad, but she's so strong. I've been in classes with her. She's just a great storyteller. And congratulations.
Thank you,
You're
darling.
doing great.
Please, yes.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear the story about you writing letters, because that's one of the things I encourage people to do, is sometimes, for myself, my husband died 8 years ago, and I was fortunate to be in New Jersey, where it was a very active church, and they did have a very good grieving group. In fact, we had 4 groups going on, and they are still very active. When they redid the church, the priest brought everybody into the rectory. You don't stop grieving, no matter what. And but I find the church here, I got into this because my church in Lakewood Ranch was not for bereavement, I'm sorry to say, and I don't understand why. I had all the workbooks there, and I think, you know, we're sitting here and a lot of women, but there's nothing here for men. And I have more men come to me in my development. I'm in adult web development, and they have nothing. They have no one to go to. And I understand completely what you say, because I was nowhere near where you people were. I was not in good shape. My husband had valve surgery 3 weeks later, he was gone. And I was not ready for that, nor any children. And he was a teacher. And he wears an army. So I'm really feeling for your whole story, because I understand it completely. And he has said to me, if anything happens, go to Florida. Things get really bad, and that's exactly what I did. So I think your story is great. I definitely get the book and encourage people to also buy the book. And some of the men, you know, need to read it also.
I still can't look at pictures.
Right.
I give you so much credit because it would be that's such a difficult exercise what you did. I talked to Charlie a lot, you know, and I let him guide sort of, what would he say if I did this? You know, and I talked to him, but I give you, that took courage to sit down and write all those letters.
Yes.
Was that a hand again?
I was just gonna say, I have found this for myself, that the best way I can write, I'm not a very good writer, and grammatically, I think I'm horrible, but I can really express myself in a letter. That format is so potent, like you said, you feel like you're connected to them, talking to them, you hear them, you feel them, and, I mean, it's just brilliant, if you had told all those stories from the viewpoint of the narrator, it wouldn't have the same impact. But because it's in letters and you're actually communicating with them, it's powerful.
Yeah, it's the power of having the target. You know exactly who you're talking to. And by talking to the specific person, it becomes universal.
Instead of trying to think, well, how do I say this? How
Yeah.
do I write about this? Then you go, no. Because you have a relationship.
Yeah. May is also National Mental Health Awareness Month, and there is in my research on that, because I've written a play recently about someone going through. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic.
Yes, it was great.
What was that? It was what?
Great.
It was great.
It was incredible. I'll go.
Clownslikeme.com, and there's a copy of it that's published too. But the actor Scott has lived his whole life with mental illnesses, and so we were telling his story. But in my research there, I came back around to Estrella's book again too, because to your point, bereavement, there's a stigma attached to it. In this country, there's this mindset that it is difficult to be around someone in pain. We don't know how to have empathy with each other. We are a reactive society at this point. And so for someone to be with Estrella, and it's okay to cry. I'm okay. Don't worry. I'm not judging, right? But that's difficult for people to get to. The fact that, especially for widowers, yeah, I mean, men are supposed to. I mean, there's these expectations, and there is there is a direct connection between grieving and mental health. And the more we can punch that stigma down and just meet people where they are. Oh my goodness, why is it so difficult to just meet people where they are and not try to fix, not try to give unsolicited advice, just listen and love them. I mean, it sounds easy, it is not. But that's something too, if you're looking for resources again, look for the connection between that and mental health, because there's gonna be resources there as well. Yeah.
Jason, I was looking at the cover of that book, Clowns Like Me.
Yeah.
And I tell my friends, I think I told you this, Jay, I feel like a clown because on the outside, I'm a very happy-go-lucky person naturally, and I want to project that to people. I don't want them to say, oh, what's wrong with her? So I do that, and then when I'm by myself, I'm not like that. So I call myself a clown. I don't know what that book's about, but I have to go look at it.
Pagliacci, right? Smokey Robinson. Yeah, the play is very much about, one of the key metaphors is he feels like that people look at you weird.
Yeah.
People look at you like you have a stigma. There's a,
But I can relate to her, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
But I can relate because I come off very well personally and socially, but when you're on your own and you're dealing, and so, but that is a wonderful play, if you get a chance to see it.
Where is it?
It's at the Cook Theater.
Oslo.
Yeah, right next to the Oslo.
yeah.
In the little theater next to the Oslo. May 18th, 28th.
Through, yeah, so there's tonight, tomorrow, then next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Okay.
Great, it's wonderful.
Any other comments or thoughts or questions? If not, there's time. Again, the book is down there. Estrella, we're gonna hang out up here. If you wanted to sign it, she'll be more than happy to. Thank you all so much for being with us, and come up and talk to us individually if you like, and check out the table. And yeah.